and welcome to part 4 of the Chalice of Blood Warhammer 40,000 narrative campaign, brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. If you haven't yet watched parts 1 to 3, we would recommend you do so, but to briefly recap. A warband of traitor world eaters have lured the Raven Guard to this planet, Calicum Tertius, known as the Chalice, to slaughter them in the hope that in return the dark gods will once again rouse their sire Angron to war. After slaughtering many of the sons of Corax at their drop site in the Farlight uplands, the World Eaters have been fighting running street battles with the surviving Raven Guard in the ruins of nearby Farlight City. Now, as the World Eaters bring their forces to bear to exterminate the surviving Ravens, there is a ray of hope for the loyal Space Marines. The Grey Knights, having fought beside the Raven Guard against the Tau Empire in a neighbouring system, have arrived and are preparing to strike at the traitors' command while their forces are engaged in Farlight City. The battle today is 2,000 points, a custom scenario based on one of the scenarios from the old 5th edition Warhammer 40,000 rulebook, known as the Crucible of War, and is centred upon this. Outpost 42 in a remote area of the Farlight uplands. Let's take a look at the forces involved and some of the special rules for this scenario. This 2,000 point Grey Knights list is a single combined arms detachment. As the entire attacking force, which in this case is the Grey Knights, arrives on the battlefield in the first turn, there is no need for them to field a Nemesis strike force. This detachment is led by Grand Master Polydorus himself. He has a master crafted force sword and he is wearing the cuirass of sacrifice, giving him feel no pain. He has brought along his bodyguard of 3 paladins. They all have master crafted falchions, and as another elite's choice, a venerable dreadnought. He has a plasma cannon and a power fist. For troops, Polydorus has got a strike squad. They have Nemesis force halberds and 1 brother with a psi cannon and 2 Terminator squads. Both of 5, 1 with force halberds and a silencer, and another with force swords, and they have a psi cannon. For heavy support, he has brought along a Nemesis Dread Knight with a Gatling silencer and a Nemesis Greatsword. He also has a personal teleporter and a purgation squad. They have 4 incinerators, and they will be riding in the first of the 3 fast attack choices a Storm Raven gunship, twin-linked assault cannon and twin-linked heavy bolters, and there are 2 more fast attack choices, both of them interceptor squads. They have their personal teleporters. This squad has an incinerator and the Justicar has a demon hammer, and the other squad, the Justicar, also has a demon hammer, and the rest of the brothers have Nemesis force halberds. This force will be arriving mostly by deep strike onto the table at the start of turn 1, and will they be able to decapitate the World Eaters' command? Let's see what the traitors have at Outpost 42. This 2,000 point World Eaters Legion army is a battle-forged Legion list and is led by Assault Captain Laertes himself. He is here. This is a good opportunity for the Grey Knights to take out the World Eaters commander, but that's not going to be easy because he is a Legion Praetor with a Paragon blade, and he also has a Legion command squad. They all have artificer armour and power fists, and there's a Legion standard bearer as well. As Laertes has Pride of the Legion, they are mounted in a Land Raider with armoured ceramite, and although he's not very popular with Laertes, the Dark Apostle is here as well. He is a Legion Centurion upgraded to a Chaplain. For troops, there are a lot of World Eaters. A tactical squad of 16, Their sergeant has a power fist and artificer armour. They have bolt pistols and chain axes, and another identical squad of 16. Their sergeant has a power fist and artificer armour as well. They also have a Legion tactical support squad with 4 melter guns, and for their elites choices they have 2 Contemptor dreadnoughts, one with 2 Kerry's assault cannons and a Havoc missile launcher, and the other with a multi-melter, a power fist, and he has another melter gun in his power fist as well. Final elites choice is a Legion rapier, laser destroyer, and this army also contains 2 heavy support choices. Legion heavy weapon squad, they all have autocannon and a predator with heavy bolter sponsons and a heavy conversion beamer mounted in its turret. This army are based at Outpost 42. Laertes has not yet led any assaults against the Ravens himself, and it's just as well, as he can now coordinate the defence against the newly arriving Grey Knights. Let's take a look at deployment. And the World Eaters have deployed. In this scenario, all World Eaters forces must start the battle within 6 inches of the central bunker, and they have done so. They have deployed their predator hull down with a good field of fire, and one of the tactical squads of World Eaters are already spilling towards the outer defences. In the central post itself we have the World Eaters with autocannons, and in support of them the tactical support squad with melter guns. The rapier laser destroyer has got an excellent field of fire from their position behind these barricades, and Laertes, his command squad, and the Land Raider which is carrying them have deployed just on the outskirts of the outpost. The World Eaters have been able to leave 3 units in reserve, and they have left the Contemptor Talon, 1 tactical squad and the Dark Apostle, and they will move on from this side of the battlefield in support once the Grey Knights arrive. The Grey Knights will arrive at the start of turn 1 by deep strike, but unlike the last planetfall we saw, this is not a trap laid by the World Eaters. This time it is they who have been caught out. The victor in this scenario will be the side that controls the outpost itself at the end of the game. Let's see where the Grey Knights deep strike to, going into Grey Knights turn 1. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 1, and it seems that their adepts manning the teleportation chambers have erred on the side of caution, as a lot of the Grey Knights have scattered outwards from their designated coordinates towards the centre of the base. Over this side, 1 squad of Terminators have arrived with their Psy Cannon. They are looking to take out the World Eater's Predator as quickly as possible, and at the outer defences we have 1 Interceptor squad and Grand Master Polydorus himself with his Paladins. They are supported by a wildly scattering Strike squad. They tried to teleport here, but their place has been taken by another Interceptor squad. The Dread Knight scattered a long way out of the base, but he will be looking to move forward, and 1 squad of Grey Knight Terminators with their Nemesis Force halberds. They have appeared quite close to the World Eaters. Over this side it looks like there will be a lot of concentration of firepower to try and thin out these World Eaters before they can overrun the brothers of this squad. And zooming overhead, the Grey Knight Storm Raven carrying the Venerable Dreadnought and the Purgation squad has also arrived, and it is looking to do a strafing run before it drops off its deadly cargo. Grey Knights, they have struck. They have the element of surprise. Let's see if they can achieve anything in their first psychic phase. End of Grey Knight psychic phase turn 1, and although the result for warp charges was the roll of a 1, the Grey Knights still mustered up 12 dice, and they used it to give this squad hammer hand. And then Grandmaster Polydorus started by casting Sanctuary on his own squad, improving their invulnerable save, and followed that up with a Cleansing Flame, which took out 3 World Eaters from this tactical squad. So a good first psychic phase from the Grey Knights. Let's see if they can match that performance in their first shooting phase. Grey Knights, turn 1. End of Grey Knight shooting phase, turn 1, and mixed results for the Sons of Titan. This Terminator squad opened fire on the Predator with their Psy Cannon, but all of the rounds pinged harmlessly from its side armour. It is undamaged. Meanwhile, a hail of bolter shells erupted from the Grey Knights on this side of the outpost, all targeted at the World Eaters tactical squad. These interceptors, they managed nothing with their storm bolters, but the Paladins took out 1 traitor marine, and Grandmaster Polydorus took out another with his storm bolter. The storm bolters from the strike squad had no effect, but 1 traitor was gunned down by the brother with his Psy Cannon, and another went down to the storm bolters of this interceptor squad. The Nemesis Dread Knight achieved nothing with his Gatling silencer, but another traitor was shredded by a volley from this Terminator squad silencer. Meanwhile, the strafing Storm Raven targeted the World Eaters special weapons marines that are in the centre of the outpost, and they managed to take out 1 with their twin-linked assault cannon and another with a missile. None of the World Eaters have broken, unsurprisingly. Have the Grey Knights done enough damage? Well, we will have to see going into World Eaters, turn 1. End of World Eaters movement phase, turn 1, and the tactical support squad are moving through the outpost to bring their melter guns to bear on this Terminator squad and hopefully save their Predator from another round of Psy Cannon fire. Meanwhile, Laertes has ordered his Land Raider to spin around, and he and his command squad are on the move. They are moving through the base. They may be officers, but they are still World Eaters, and they cannot wait to get to grips with the hated Grey Knights. The Rapier and the Heavy Weapons Marines have held position, as have the remnants of this tactical squad. They are preparing to launch a Fury of the Legion attack on these Terminators and follow it up with a brutal assault. So it still looks like the World Eaters are heavily outnumbered, but if they can start taking out some Grey Knights units, they may be in a very good position when their reserves arrive. They have no psychers. Arian is engaged with the Raven Guard in the ruins of Farlight City, so we go straight onto World Eaters shooting phase, turn 1. End of World Eaters shooting phase, turn 1, and as Laertes and his command squad run past behind them, the tactical support squad managed to take out 1 Terminator with their melter guns, but unfortunately it was not the Grey Knight carrying the Psy Cannon. Meanwhile, the Predator targeted the interceptor squad on this rocky rise. Fortunately for the Grey Knights, the beam did not have enough time to build to maximum power, but 2 Grey Knights were still blown to pieces. The Fury of the Legion attack from the World Eaters tactical squad was very disappointing. These Terminators managed to save all the wounds inflicted by the traitors' bolt pistols, but 2 brothers went down. 1 to the Rapier laser destroyer, and another to a long-range shot from Laertes' Land Raider. So there are only 3 Grey Knights left. Will they be able to face the charge of these World Eaters? We will see. And finally, the World Eaters with autocannons opened fire on the rapidly approaching Storm Raven gunship. They managed to get a single penetrating hit, which has shaken the Grey Knights aircraft. But relief for the Grey Knights, as the Purgation Squad and the Venerable Dreadnought will be able to disembark. Next turn, let's see if the 1 assault possible happens in World Eaters assault phase, turn 1. End of World Eaters assault phase, turn 1, and the tactical squad managed to make their charge, trusting to his artificer armour to protect him from The Nemesis Force Weapons, the World Eater Sergeant, issued a challenge only to have the Grey Knight's Justicar shove his halberd right through his breastplate. He went down before he got a chance to strike with his power fist, and another World Eater was taken down by the other Grey Knight's Terminators. In return, the World Eaters managed to drag down 2 of the Grey Knights, drawing the combat, but the Justicar is left on his own against all those World Eaters. But maybe the Nemesis Dread Knight will be able to rescue his outnumbered brother. Let's see, going into Grey Knights turn 2. End of Grey Knight's movement phase turn 2, and they are beginning to move towards the centre of the outpost. These Terminators are crunching towards the 3 remaining Special Weapons Marines. They are looking to put them to the sword as this Interceptor squad teleports forward and prepares to take out the Predator with their halberds and their Justicar's Demon Hammer. Polydorus is also stomping forwards. He is supported by the 3 remaining Interceptors that have teleported forward from this ridgeline. But the Strike Squad, with a double 1 for their move through cover, they are really lagging behind. It looks like the Nemesis Dread Knight is indeed leaping forward to the aid of this lone Justicar Terminator, and the shaken Storm Raven has hovered backwards but not before dropping off. The Purgation Squad, who also rolled a double 1 for their move through cover, stranding themselves in the open, and more importantly the venerable Dreadnought, who has his sights fixed squarely on Laertes and his command squad. Will the venerable Grey Knight be able to take on a Legion Praetor? We will see. But first we have Grey Knight Psychic Phase turn 2. End of Grey Knight Psychic Phase turn 2, and sensing perhaps an epic struggle to come, the venerable Dreadnought has managed to cast Sanctuary on himself, and Grandmaster Polydorus has once again cast Sanctuary on himself and his paladins. This Terminator squad, they've managed to get off Hammerhand, and it looks like these World Eaters with melter guns are not going to be around for very much longer. But some good news for the World Eaters. This squad of Interceptors failed to get Hammerhand off on themselves, but they still have halberds and a Demon Hammer, so will that be enough to take out the Predator? We shall see. We go into Grey Knight's Shooting Phase turn 2. End of Grey Knight Shooting Phase turn 2, and a very, very disappointing phase for the Sons of Titan. These Terminators opened fire at the World Eater Special Weapons Marines, but failed to do any damage at all, as did the crack grenade hurled by the Justicar of this Interceptor squad. Meanwhile, despite being targeted by the Grandmaster, his paladins and this Interceptor squad, and from long range by this Strike squad, only 2 of the World Eater's heavy weapon Marines have gone down. The Storm Raven targeted them as well, but as it was firing snapshots, did no damage at all. Perhaps the worst result of the turn is the Grey Knight's venerable Dreadnought. His plasma cannon malfunctioned, and he has lost a hull point before he has even made it into Laertes and his command squad. And despite washing all 4 of their incinerators over the Rapier, the Purgation squad have done no damage, but they are getting ready for a charge. The Dread Knight has not fired. He is going to wade into this combat to see if he can save the Terminator Justicar. So, very disappointing phase for the Grey Knights. Let's see if their second assault phase is more effective. End of Grey Knight's assault phase turn 2, and the Terminators made very short work of the World Eaters carrying melter guns. They carved them to pieces, but one more Terminator was taken out by a melter gun firing an Overwatch shot. There are 3 Terminators left, and they have consolidated 6 inches towards the centre of the outpost. Meanwhile, these Interceptors easily dealt with the World Eater's Predator, but the Justicar swung his Demon Hammer a little too hard as it exploded, taking out 2 of his brothers. The Dread Knight could not arrive quickly enough to save the Terminator Justicar from being hacked to pieces by the World Eaters, but with a mighty swing of his greatsword he took out 3 of the traitor Space Marines, and the 2 remaining members have fled They are falling back towards the centre of the outpost, and the Dread Knight is stomping after them. Meanwhile, disappointment on this side of the battlefield with their second double one of the game for movement. The Purgation Squad failed to charge the Rapier Laser Destroyer, and the Venerable Dreadnought also failed to charge Nearchus and his command squad. So the Grey Knights are making progress into the centre of the base, but they seem to be losing a lot of brothers doing so. The World Eaters also have some reserves coming on in World Eaters turn 2. End of World Eaters turn 2 movement phase, and they have been lucky. All of their reserves have arrived and they are moving as quickly as they can towards the outpost. The Dark Apostle is leading a tactical squad of 16 World Eaters. They are swarming over these outer defensive lines, and the 2 Contemptors are stomping on. The one with the Kerry's assault cannons is already lining up to hose the outpost with fire. In the base, Nearchus has ordered his Land Raider and the World Eaters with autocannons and the Rapier to deal with the Venerable Dreadnought. Meanwhile, he is leading his command squad against these Terminators. As all of the World Eaters are wearing artificer armour, the Terminators are going to struggle with their force swords. And the last 2 World Eaters over this side of the outpost, they have rallied. They can do that being members of the Legiones Astartes, but they can't charge, having just rallied, and they used Fury of the Legion in their first turn, so they can't even snap shoot their bolt pistols, so they will be pretty useless this turn. But if the World Eaters line can hold, maybe they can drive the Grey Knights back. Let's see, going into World Eaters shooting phase turn 2. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 2, and despite being forced to re-roll the damage dice due to the Dreadnought being venerable, the Rapier Laser Destroyer still blew it to pieces with a single shot, failed its cover save, and a 6 followed by another 6 meant the Venerable Warrior was destroyed easily. That freed off the World Eaters with autocannons to target these interceptors, but their autocannon rounds could not penetrate the Grey Knight's armour, and the Land Raider to target this squad of interceptors that are no longer here. The Land Raider sniped one with his twin-link las cannon, and then the 2 remaining Grey Knights were cut to pieces by a volley from the newly arrived Contemptor with his Kerry's assault cannons. The other Contemptor from the Talon has run forward another 5 inches, as have the Dark Apostle and this squad of World Eaters. They are trying to close the gap and get to the outpost as quickly as they can. Back in the base, we have an assault. It is Nearchus finally blooding himself against Imperial forces as he and his command squad charge into the Grey Knight Terminators in World Eaters assault phase turn 2. End of World Eaters assault phase turn 2, and as Nearchus and the command squad charged into the Terminators, the Justicar foolishly issued a challenge. Both he and another brother went down straight away to Nearchus's Paragon Blade. The remaining Terminator could not penetrate the command squad's artificer armour, and he was smashed to pieces by their power fists. That was a very, very one-sided assault. Let's see how the Grey Knights respond in their third turn. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 3, and with the rapidly approaching World Eaters reinforcements now in visual range, the Grey Knights have realised that they need to clear out this outpost as quickly as possible. Grand Master Polydorus is leading his paladins into the centre of the outpost, and he is in theory being supported by this strike squad, but they are having a very difficult time moving across this broken ground. Still, hopefully their Stormbolters can finish off these 2 World Eaters that are still on this side of the outpost. As these interceptors teleport up to deal with the remaining World Eaters' heavy weapons, the Dread Knight has also leapt forward, and it's a long shot, but if he can charge Nearchus and the command squad, maybe his nemesis greatsword can succeed where normal nemesis force swords fail. And once again preparing to hose the rapier with their incinerators, this purgation squad also intend to charge the World Eater's heavy weapon platform. Finally, the Storm Raven has once again boosted off. He's flying again, and he is going to try to reduce the number of approaching World Eaters. Seems that the Grey Knights have lost a lot of men getting this far, but with a good turn, maybe they can seize control. First, we have Grey Knights Psychic Phase turn 3. End of Grey Knights Psychic Phase turn 3, and the Dread Knight attempted to get force off, but he only succeeded with 1 dice, and the World Eaters managed to use their 2 dice to deny it. But the Dread Knight did manage to get Sanctuary off on himself, and Master Polydorus managed to successfully project a cleansing flame which took out 1 heavy weapons marine in the central outpost building and wound the Legion standard bearer from Nearchus' command squad. But not a great phase for the Grey Knights. Let's see if their third shooting phase is more effective. End of Grey Knight shooting phase turn 3, and another very disappointing phase for the Grey Knights. The Purgation squad once again washed their incinerators over the Rapier Laser Destroyer, but did no damage yet again. Let's hope they can make their charge this time round. The Storm Raven targeted the Dark Apostles, approaching World Eaters with the heavy bolters, the assault cannon and missiles, but only 1 World Eater went down. And in the centre, the 2 remaining heavy weapons marines holding this outpost were targeted by the interceptors and Grandmaster Polydorus. None went down, but at the very least this strike squad that are moving very slowly up in support managed to shoot down both remaining World Eaters from the original tactical squad. The Nemesis Dread Knight then opened up on the command squad with its Gatling silencer, but despite getting lots of wounds, could not get through that 2+ armour save. So the Grey Knights are hoping they have a very good assault phase. Grey Knights turn 3, assault phase. End of Grey Knights assault phase turn 3, and the interceptors managed to make their easy charge into the World Eater with autocannons. They did lose the brother with the incinerator to Overwatch, but they have killed the last of the traitor heavy weapons marines. Meanwhile, very disappointing, with a 9, the Dread Knight failed to make the charge against Nearchus' command squad by 1 inch. And more disappointment, although the Purgation squad made their charge, they could not do any damage to the World Eaters manning the rapier, but at least they took no casualties in return. But so far the Purgation squad have been very disappointing indeed. Meanwhile, in desperation, Polydorus and his paladins tried to charge Nearchus' command squad, but they failed the charge as well. Although having realised that the World Eaters have power fists and they're all wearing artificer armour, maybe that was not such a bad result for the Grey Knights. But could this battle have turned against them as the World Eaters reinforcements charged to the rescue, going into World Eaters turn 3. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 3, and their wave of reinforcements are sweeping towards the base. Both the Dark Apostle and his squad and the Contemptors are moving as quickly as they can. The Land Raider has held position to give fire, and the Rapier is locked in combat, but Nearchus and his command squad have decided that they can defeat the Grandmaster and his paladins, so they are moving to engage them in an assault. This could be a big one. First, we'll see how the World Eaters get on in their third shooting phase. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 3, and they must be lost to the nails now. The only firing came from the Land Raider, which failed to take out the 2 remaining interceptors in the central outpost building. Meanwhile, the Dark Apostle and his squad have continued to run forwards, as have the two Contemptor Dreadnoughts. They're looking to close the distance, and Laertes and his command squad are preparing to charge. We go into World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 3. End of World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 3, and the Purgation Squad have finally managed to overcome the crew of the Rapier Laser Destroyer. They cut them both down without taking any casualties in return, but Captain Laertes and his command squad have torn the heart out of this Grey Knight's assault. Issuing a challenge, Laertes decapitated Grandmaster Polydorus with a single blow from his Paragon blade. Dismayed, the three paladins could do no damage to the World Eaters command squad with their falchions. They just could not penetrate the 2+ stave of the artificer armour, and in return the World Eaters veterans tore them apart with their power fists. They have taken out a Grey Knight's Grandmaster and 3 paladins, and they didn't take a single wound of damage. Laertes and his command squad have shown exactly what it means to be a veteran of the Long War and a member of one of the most vicious of all of the first founding legions. The Grey Knights are dismayed. How will they respond? Going into Grey Knights Turn 4. End of Grey Knight's movement phase Turn 4, and the cry of vengeance goes up from the 6th Brotherhood. The Strike Squad are moving in to surround Laertes and his command squad from this side, and the Interceptors, still in the central building, are preparing to attack them from behind. But crucially, the Nemesis Dread Knight is also moving to join the fight. Surely the World Eaters cannot withstand the onslaught of these 3 Grey Knights units. Meanwhile, the Purgation Squad, they are moving in to occupy the centre of the outpost to try and claim victory, but there are a lot of World Eaters still approaching. The Storm Raven has banked round and is looking to take out the Contemptor Dreadnought that has reached the outer defences. Let's see if the Grey Knights can boost their performance with some psychic powers in their 4th psychic phase. End of Grey Knight's psychic phase Turn 4, and both the Strike Squad and the Interceptors have managed to get Hammer Hand onto themselves, but the death of the Grandmaster and the Paladins has put a real dent in the number of warp charges the Grey Knights have available, and with a roll of 6, the World Eaters managed to use their 6 dice to deny force on the Strike Squad and the Interceptors. So they have Hammer Hand, but they do not have force. Will it be enough? We shall see, but first, Grey Knights shooting phase Turn 4. End of Grey Knight shooting phase Turn 4, and as the Purgation Squad run to occupy the central outpost building, the Dread Knight and the Interceptors and the Strike Squad all open fire with their Storm Bolters and Silencer onto the command squad. They managed to do a single wound. It was this Strike Squad that gunned down the World Eaters Legion Standard Bearer, and the only other firing came from the Storm Raven, which did manage to get a single penetrating hit on this Contemptor, which has shaken the venerable war machine. Now we go into a real crucial phase. Will Laertes still be standing at the end of it? Let's see. Grey Knight's Assault Phase Turn 4. End of Grey Knight's Assault Phase Turn 4, and the Strike Squad have really let the Grey Knights down. They only charged 2 inches. They failed to make it into contact with the command squad. The Interceptors managed to make their charge, and in the hope of protecting the Dread Knight from the Praetor's Paragon blade, their Justicar challenged Laertes in the hope that they could give their lives to the World Eaters captain, and then the Dread Knight would take out all of the World Eaters with his Nemesis Greatsword. But unfortunately, they did give their lives. Laertes easily cut down the Justicar and the remaining Interceptor, but with 3 great sweeps of his sword, the Dread Knight only managed to take out the remaining members of the command squad. Laertes remains alive. He He's going one-on-one against the Nemesis Dread Knight now. Let's see if he can survive. World Eaters, turn 4. End of World Eaters movement phase, turn 4, and the traitors are pouring back into this outpost. The word bearer, Dark Apostle, is leading this tactical squad, and they have reached the central building. They are hoping that a storm of bolter fire from themselves, combined with the fire of the Land Raider, which is still there, is going to wipe out the Purgation squad and give them control of the outpost once more. Meanwhile, the two Contemptors are still advancing. The one with the multi-melter, who is shaken, is just moving as quickly as possible, and the one with the Kerry's assault cannons has moved so that he can draw a line of sight to the strike squad. Maybe he can blast them back, because it seems that the Acursed is on his own against the Dread Knight for at least one more assault phase. So, whether he lives or dies is going to go right down to the wire. Let's see if the World Eaters' plans are successful in their 4th shooting phase. End of World Eaters shooting phase, turn 4, and a hail of bolt pistol fire erupted from the approaching tactical squad, gunning down 2 of the Purgation squad holding the central building. But the Land Raider had no effect at all. The Grey Knights made their cover saves from the las cannon wounds, and the heavy bolter rolled a triple 1 to wound after getting 3 hits. The Contemptor with the multi-melter ran forward another 6 inches. He is very keen to get to grips with the Grey Knights, and the Contemptor with the Kerry's assault cannons opened fire and gunned down 2 of the approaching strike squad. So, another round of not much damage caused by firing. Let's see, can the World Eaters captain possibly hope to triumph against the massive form of the Nemesis Dread Knight in World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 4. End of World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 4, and Assault Captain Laertes stands triumphant. He has hacked down the Nemesis Dread Knight. 4 hits, 2 6s to wound, and a failed invulnerable save. Legion Praetors with Paragon blades are extremely dangerous. This guy is extremely dangerous. The Grey Knights are in shock. Could Captain Laertes have held this outpost single-handed? It's beginning to look that way. And let's see, the Grey Knights are desperate to kill this traitor. Going into Grey Knights turn 5. End of Grey Knights movement phase turn 5, and it's looking grim for the Sons of Titan. They are putting everything they have left into taking down the World Eaters captain. The strike squad are moving to surround him. The Purgation squad are going to wash their incinerators over him and perhaps even charge. Their Justicar does have a Nemesis Force sword, and the only other unit the Grey Knights have left is the Storm Raven. It has dropped down into hover mode despite the fact it has 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts very near it, and it's out of missiles, but it is going to try to use its assault cannon and heavy bolters to at least wound this World Eater. Let's see. The Grey Knights are desperate to get force off. Let's see if they can manage it in their 5th psychic phase. End of Grey Knight psychic phase turn 5, and they only had 4 dice. The strike squad, there are more of them. They were more desperate to cast force. They put 3 dice into it and they have managed it. That left only 1 die for the Purgation squad Justicar. He failed, but with all these Nemesis Force halberds, surely they can bring down the World Eater. Let's see if they can do any damage to him with their firepower. First, Grey Knights shooting phase turn 5. End of Grey Knight shooting phase turn 5, and the assault cannon and the heavy bolters from the Storm Raven did nothing to Captain Laertes. The flames from the incinerators washed over him and also did nothing, but he was wounded once by a volley of storm bolter fire from the strike squad that are preparing to charge him. Let's see, they have force on, and they will be joined in their charge by the Purgation squad. Let's see. Going into Grey Knight's assault phase. turn 5. End of Grey Knight's assault phase turn 5, and the Purgation squad with the roll of a 3 failed to move through the terrain and make it into combat with Captain Nearchus. The strike squad made it in, only for 3 of their number to be hacked down by the World Eater. The 2 remaining brothers managed 2 hits and rolled snake eyes to wound. This World Eater is protected by some power, who knows, but he has bestrode this battlefield like a colossus. Let's see if the World Eaters can finish off the Grey Knights. We could be looking at a tabling in World Eaters turn 5. End of World Eaters movement phase turn 5, and the Dark Apostle has led this large squad of World Eaters back into the centre of the outpost. They are climbing up through the building. They are preparing to wipe out the 3 remaining members of the Purgation squad. If their bolt pistols can't manage it, then they have the supporting fire of Nearchus's Land Raider. Meanwhile, the 2 Contemptors, they have got their eyes fixed firmly on the hovering Storm Raven that's already been damaged. If they can't take it out with a volley of fire, they may well be charging into it. That does mean that Nearchus is on his own once again against 2 Grey Knights. They still have force on their halberds, but it seems that this World Eater is just not meant to go down. Let's see how the World Eaters get on in their 5th shooting phase. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 5, and the Purgation squad are no more. Both brothers with incinerators were taken out in a hail of bolt pistol fire by the World Eaters tactical squad, and the Justicar was finished off by a twin link las cannon shot from the Land Raider. They are wiped out. Meanwhile, the Storm Raven managed to jink the only penetrating hit from the Contemptor with his multi-melter and melter gun, but the Contemptor with his Kerries managed to get 1 penetrating hit through, knocking another hull point off the Storm Raven, leaving it on only 1 remaining and shaking it again. But these Dreadnoughts will surely be able to charge in and finish it off in World Eaters assault phase turn 5. End of World Eaters assault phase turn 5, and even though only the Contemptor Dreadnought with the Kerry's assault cannons made it into the Storm Raven, he managed with his strength of 7 to do 1 hull point, which caused it to crash to the ground, wrecked. And meanwhile, as we've come to expect, Assault Captain Nearchus managed another 4 hits with his Paragon blade and butchered the 2 remaining Grey Knights before they could even heft their force halberds. This is a tabling. The World Eaters have struck back. The Grey Knights thought they had the element of surprise and they could decapitate the traitor command. Well, it has gone in the exact opposite direction. Do not mess with a praetor of the 12th Legion is the lesson that we take from this battle. Where will the Imperial forces go from here? This has been an epic battle. The World Eaters have showed real mettle, and the Grey Knights have paid the price. Thanks very much for watching. We hope you're enjoying this Warhammer 40,000 narrative campaign. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!